Hey guys, it's Saturday, August 1st, 2020. Just kind of getting ready for the mini hurricane that's headed my way in Florida. 11:41 a.m. Um, this market's really hard to buy and hold unless you're in, the FANG stocks, the major Apple's, Google, Amazon, Shopify, Netflix. A lot of the mid tier and small caps really run into a brick wall here. So we have like a tale of two or three cities, and it makes it difficult to do swing trades here. It makes it difficult for stocks that like Sorrento, like we like SRNE, for those to get follow through. And this is one I pointed out a few days ago that I like the chart on it. And if you look at the daily 1 year on this one, we don't get follow through. The big move is the ending move, and we had the big move yesterday, and we closed towards the bottom of the candle. So it looks like the high's in on Sorrento for now. I like this chart in here, and we talked about it in the mid sevens and eights, and low eights, and then it got 1054, and it's pretty much the end of the story on that one. There is one though that looks, and we've played this one before. We had a nice move from the sevens into the 12 area, but something about Bitcoin again that's catching my eye. And the last time I said that, we had a nice 40% swing trade. When we look at a 5 year chart on Bitcoin weeklies, it's an easy play on this one, I think. And we'll know if this was an ending move or just the beginning of a bigger move. If we look at a weekly chart, I'll show you what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. There's something different about this structure that we're seeing here. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Every time you've had a breakout on volume on Bitcoin, the next trading session or weekly session should never close below the midline of the candle. So we've seen big volume moves on Bitcoin that were ending moves, and we've seen big volume moves on Bitcoin that were beginning moves. And if you look at this candle, for instance, and I'll zoom in on that if I can, kind of open this up a little bit and widen that, you'll see that's a big volume candle, and that is an initial candle breakout move on Bitcoin. And you never got to close. This is the candle I'm talking about, this volume right here. You never got to close below the 50% Fibonacci of that candle. So after that move, it never closed below the 50% mark. And you can run the numbers once you look at the high and the low, and kind of determine where you wanted to put your stop at on a closing weekly basis. It never did. And then we blew off to the upside. This candle here obviously is a different story. This was a topping candle, and yes, we immediately closed below the midline, which told you to get out. You would have completely avoided all this movement in here. Just like this topping candle here too, it never should have closed below the midline. As soon as it did on this day right here, you should have been out again. You would have avoided all this move. Same thing here. This is not a breakout candle, it's a topping candle. As soon as you close below the midline in here, this candle is green candle, you would have been out. And then here we have this move today, which the midpoint would be around $12.15. You got to close below there, they're out. We're out. But look at the volume and look at the MACD structure on this. This is the highest volume that we've seen since this topping candle. That's why I'm pointing it out, because the structure is different. And we have the numbers in place that we need to know of. And this could be the beginning of a huge move in Bitcoin. The big difference too on the MACD as well is that you're kind of already crossing over with some expansion, and you're starting to roll. Now you have some congestion here, and now you're just starting to curl up. So there's something about this move, this recent move in Bitcoin. And I was out. I already got out of Bitcoin. I wasn't acting properly, and I'll show you what I was looking at. Just the daily 1 year on Bitcoin just started to break down. And it really didn't change the structure of the weekly long term, but for me it was time to get out, just because it was more of a swing trade, profit taking into strength. But it hadn't acted normal, it hadn't acted correctly recently. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit. So I think I'm about ready to do another swing trade. I'm finding it hard to find trades that I can buy and hold. Everything's run so far. I'm just kind of going in and out of scalps. That's number one. Number two is just to kind of digress and get back to the whole idea behind the text service was so that I can send you guys stuff that I'm seeing in real time. We really haven't done a good job at that. I've done the videos in the morning, but I'm still waiting on a legal disclaimer because I'm not allowed to do the text messaging service supposedly intraday until I get some type of legal disclaimer that everybody can sign off on some stupid stuff, but whatever. But like I said, the structure of this move in Bitcoin recently, we were in here. This is the beginning part that we bought in at. Actually, this is the beginning part we bought in the sevens, and then we had this nice move up into the 12 area, and then it kind of double topped, and then it just started to false. It was a false breakout right in here, and once again, if we had followed that kind of scenario where we closed below the midline, even on the daily, it was time to get out. Same thing we saw here. These were false breakouts. Same thing we saw here. And now in order to avoid that in here, obviously we don't want to hold this below close of $12.15. And that'll kind of keep us safe. But this move has some power to it. On the daily, it would have been nicer to see a little bit of expanding volume, but that's a huge move, this candle here to the upside. So we're going to keep an eye on Bitcoin. I'd probably take a half a position, then add a half a position. And I'm trying to determine whether we want to use the midpoint of the breakout candle here or the weekly ending candle in here as a point of reference for where to put our stop at. But given the volume that we've seen and given the amount of money printing and the whole situation with the Fed and the market and all these issues we're having with COVID, I'm wondering if Bitcoin might be an interesting play once again here, although I feel like I'm chasing it and buying it higher than where I sold it at before. It might be just the beginning of a bigger move longer term that I want to be part of. In order to do that, I need to have some type of a safety net and an exit strategy. So I'll kind of determine where that is. It may be 12.15, it may be 11.79, 11.80. But who knows where the upside could be. Remember, this is just the tracking stock that I can purchase on TD Ameritrade, and I believe we've had highs of 30, 35 longer term. So once again, there are some fundamental things happening in Bitcoin as well. We can see it in the news all the time that may kind of back up this type of a move. And if we can look back on the price history, I think this used to be $35 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 38. So can we duplicate that move again? I'm sure we could. I mean, that move happened from a base that just got out of control, right? But these longer bases that we're seeing now in these consolidation time frames are ones that create power. And we're seeing that kind of in this little area here that we're back inside on Bitcoin. And it's good to see a move like that on volume. I don't know if my button has so much trouble. But you can kind of see we have a little bit better consolidation from the breakdowns. And now we're back up in that zone. And this creates power. These sideways moves create a lot of power. It's hard to create power from these moves here, so usually it would blow off and then kind of pull like that all the way back to here. But now we're having some longer consolidation to create more power to the upside. And there's really not a lot of resistance, I think, with this kind of volume that we see. You could easily push back above these $15 and $16 areas. So the trade scenario is pretty simple. It is structured like the international paper. Unfortunately, that trade didn't work out for us. We can pull that chart up too as well because I'm not sure international paper is completely done longer term. When you look at it on a it should be around a daily chart, it looks a little bit suspect, but when you pull it back and look at it on a channel, it kind of looks very structured and normal, correct? I mean, it really did nothing more than have a huge run, pull back, bounce, huge run, sell into the earnings news, and let's see how we move along here. Close below. I already sold out half my position because I have to follow a structured scenario. I probably should have sold the whole thing when we closed below 36, and that's why we have those numbers in place. We have a target to the upside. 42, I believe, was our target to the upside. And that was me buying actually in pre-market at 38 and then adding. So my dollar cost average was, I think, 36.70, 36.90. I almost caught the low that day right around 36.05, but then we started to roll back over, and then I took half of it off. But looking at the structure of this from a longer term perspective, it seems like it's kind of hanging in there. And I was actually impressed with the numbers on international paper. It wasn't so horrible. So keeping that one in mind, but Bitcoin's one to watch right here for sure. This could be the beginning of something big in Bitcoin, and I definitely don't want to miss out on it. So I think the risk reward is in my favor.